Yeah, and we'll go, how long, when's your hard stop?
Hang on just a sec. What?
Is he using a lab or boom mic? That's all I want to know. It sounds really good.
Are you using a lab or a boom?
They're yelling at me, Sennheiser boom mic, Sennheiser boom mic.
Is that Budweiser Light? Is that what you said?
Exactly.
Yeah, Budweiser Light.
What is up, Resource Nation? We got a legend in Todd Duncan, the OG of building trust, high trust selling, sales mastery, which before we go, man, I got to thank you for pulling me on stage. We had an amazing conversation last year.
Cheers.
These are starting to feel like reunions. You know, I've been in the business for so long. Like, you had so many people in sales mastery. It was an amazing time, and it just meant the world to me. It's sitting in my office, Todd. I'll send you a text. You got a really cool artist scribing, like, and drawing out what we spoke. My guys stole that from me, by the way, and put it in glass, and it's in my office, and it meant the world to me. It still does. So thank you for that. And thank you for what you do for the industry. And thank you for carving out time today, man. I'm just, guys, you're in for a treat. We're going to set aside all the bank failures. We're going to set aside high rates, and we're going to talk about retiring early. So Todd, first, welcome, and thank you so much for everything you do, man.
Yeah. So in the midst of financial collapse, let's talk about retiring early.
Right.
And
I love it. It's a
all
good
mindset,
reprieve,
right?
man. We don't need to be focusing on some negativity. Let's focus on some positivity. Let's focus on passive income strategies. And I'll tell you, full transparency and, you know, being honest, I've done a lot right in my career. One of the things I got wrong, and this is why I love this conversation today with you, is I wish I could go back, and I wish somebody would teach me and would have taught me about passive income strategies. I'm trying to make up for lost time, and you know that's really difficult to do as you get older.
right.
Man, I wish I could have started this at like year one in my career. So guys, whether you're like me trying to make up for lost time or you're early in your career, set aside everything. Tune in to Todd and I just for the next 20 minutes. It might change your life, because I'm telling you, I'm raising my hand. One thing I wish I could go back and do is passive income. And I think you shared a really cool stat, Todd, that maybe we can open up with. You just got back from Nashville, masterminding with all the top producers in the industry. And what was the stat in terms of 7 out of $10? Is that what it was?
Yeah. The bare minimum is 7 out of every $10 earned per month is coming from passive revenue versus earned revenue. And what that means is that we have done earned revenue long enough. So a loan officer who is working every day and generating commissions, and you could be earning a lot of great money, right? At the end of the day, they don't have an investment strategy that they lock onto early in their career, which creates over time massive financial security. And so the first litmus test for anybody is, if you stop doing loans today, how many days would have to go by before your commission stream ended?
Yeah, most people won.
For some, it's one, but for most of the industry, it's like 30 or 40 days. And,
Yeah.
you know, some people have some pretty large cash reserves coming out of refi mania, you know, but many have spent all of that even back then, or now just making up the delta between low production and what their cost of living is. So there's no downside to creating financial freedom by design. There's no downside to looking at business efficiencies to create more cash flow, to create more opportunity for passive revenue. And there's absolutely no value in waiting another day until you start investing $1 that produces $2, and $20 that produces $200, and $2,000 that produces $20,000. There's no time to start this like there is today.
Realtor friends, LO friends, you know, I love you. I've been with you the last 14 plus years creating content. We're just not the best at saving and investing, oddly enough. So this is one that you got to, again, you know, put aside everything else. If you're driving, just listen in. Todd, I love the stat of 7 out of 10. Like you said in the green room, like most people might be 0 out of 10. And that might be you raising your hand going, yeah, Todd, I'm 0 out of 10, but I want to work my way to 7 out of 10, or maybe even just start with 2 out of 10 dollars, right? So let's go there. I know we only got 20 minutes with you today, so let's go fast, hot and heavy. You guys, if you need to pause and go back, you can, but let's run.
If I could just start, I think that everything rises and falls on the first decision, which is the decision that creates all wealth. And that is for you to make a decision that without restraint, you're going to become as efficient as possible in the few skills that, when maximized, create revenue, right? And so I'll give you an example. You might want to write these numbers down or listen to them if you're driving or on the fly. But if you write down $300,000, and let's just say, you know, 25 grand a month is your income number, and so 300,000 is the goal for the next 12 months. And then you write down your net commission, and let's just use 110 basis points. That's seems to be a reasonable number across the industry. And then let's make an assumption that every month from whomever you call referral partners, realtors, builders, others that run businesses, you're able to get 4 conversations with a borrower, right? And this would be a borrower that wants to buy at some point in time, that might be on the fence right now, that may not be, but they're going to buy something in the next 6 to 12 months, right? And so those are 3 numbers, and let's just use 4. So that would be 1 a week per realtor, 4 qualified leads a month from a realtor for buyers. Now let's go to the other stack of numbers. So let's say the average loan amount is $400,000. And let's say your pre-qual conversion to app ratio. Let's just say we use an industry number. So it's around 20. The actual is 19.5. I'm just going to use 19. I'm going to go on the low end. And let's just say that out of all conversations, 19% go to a triggered submission to processing, right? So we look at that number, and then let's just say that like 88% of that number. So it's a full-blown pre-qual into processing, and 88% of those fund. Okay, so that's 6 numbers. Your numbers could be higher or lower, doesn't matter. But if we look at that number and we look at the amount of work that's going to go into that, in essence, you have to fund 68 loans. And to fund 68 loans with all those numbers, you have to originate 77 loans, right? So the numbers are where everybody that becomes super wealthy starts, because if you don't measure the numbers, you can't improve the numbers. And the default for most people, Ryan, is they go out and they make more calls. They go out and they try to generate more fruit, as you go shake that tree and see if something falls off, or shake that tree. And I think for most loan officers and realtors for sure could raise their hand and say, I don't really know my daily numbers. And when we get in a market like we're in right now, Ryan, I think people fall away from business planning. And I don't know why. I scratched my head. Do you know why? Why do people fall away from business planning when markets get a little bit difficult, or when markets are new and different? Do you have what's your answer?
I've wondered that too. It's funny that we both have the same assessment of the business, and it's the opposite. Like, things slow down. We have more time to be more proactive, but we're not. And I've seen that year after year after year. Maybe it's just because it's not forced. And necessity is the mother of invention. And so, like, I feel like they have so much time that, it's an idle hands type thing, versus 2020. They didn't have time to think. It was just react, work hard. But you're 100% right. Like, for some reason, and I think it's across the board, we lose our strategy. We lose our proactivity the more time we have. And I wish I had a better answer for you.
Yeah.
I can just validate what you're saying. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, though.
So I guess the reason I would ask you, Ryan, and then ask anybody listening, why is it that we are not just awakening every day and feeling kind of a peace of mind about our role in the world? And, there's a lot of news out there, there's bank failures out there, and all of that it's out there, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What matters is what you do in any market you're in. I have sold mortgage loans in the highest interest rate market in the history of mortgages for over 200 years. Highest interest rate market. I sold mortgages, and I sold them at scale. 27 million in 1 year, average loan amount $71,000. 18%, 19% rate. So rates don't matter, right? Consumer behavior doesn't matter at scale. There might be some bank of consumers that are going to wait on the sideline for a bit. There might be some that are ready to go. The loan officer today looks forward at the end of 2024 and takes the MBA statistics and the economic forecasts and says, this is a really great market, because in about 30 months, we're going to have more strategic refis that come in from 7% mortgages and 6.5% mortgages today, that in 2 years are going to be 4.5% and 4% mortgages, and appreciation is going to go up, although at a slower rate. And so the offset is like, I got to be thinking today, people are going to buy. And in the markets that we still have inventory challenges, every day a seller doesn't list a home because they're afraid that they're going to have to lower the price, but they need to sell the home, want to sell the home, they're going to get back in line. And so the buyer market comes around, the seller market slows down. This is what we do, right? This is the industry we're in. But here's the deal. You are not paid for how many hours you work. You are paid for how productive those hours are. So to the point of this conversation, how do you build true wealth? You build true wealth not by doing more. You build true wealth by doing what you do better, generating higher metrics, generating more revenue so that you can invest the revenue. And let me make a point. So to those numbers I just gave you guys, with a 19% conversion and 110 basis points and an average loan amount of $400,000, you would make $28,331 a month. Okay. So the first question is, just based on those numbers, how much do you need to live, right? And how much of that is going to, not be tax sheltered, and therefore you got to pay taxes. How strategic should you start to get about, is that number the right number, and not right in that it's not what you're earning, right in that it does not reflect the opportunity you have. So watch what happens. So our conversion rate was 19%, and then 88% of those deals fund. What if you could take your conversion rate from 19%, improve it by 20%, okay, which is about a 1.8% improvement a month, okay? So your total conversion goes from 19% to 39%. Our elite group that I just left in Nashville, who last year funded $70 billion in loans, 24 business leaders,
Jeez.
and most of them are originators. So these
Yeah.
guys are smoking. One of the top guys invested $16 million in real estate last year.
Jeez.
Passive revenue, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But he was a loan officer 20 years ago, and he wasn't doing the things that matter most. But watch this, you guys. Listen very carefully. My income at 19% conversion is $28,000. If I improve that by 20% to 39%, my income is $58,000. So watch. What do I do with the difference? I don't work an extra hour. I get better at skill. I get better at conversation. I get better at follow-up. Now my income goes up $29,000 a month. What do you do with the extra $29,000 a month? Well, you build a team. That's the first step in passive revenue. Maybe you buy an insurance practice. Maybe you start buying rental properties. Maybe you start buying apartment complexes. Maybe you start building alternative businesses. One of our top producers owns a roofing company in a very heavy hail state.
Yeah.
So imagine that. Imagine being in the loan business and being in Texas and knowing that hail destroys roofs, and now you own a roofing company.
Great demand.
Revenue?
Yeah.
It's all these kinds of things, but here's the problem. You can't create passive revenue, Ryan, without passive revenue. You can't go invest if you don't have more. So watch this. So if I can make an extra $29,000 a month by taking my conversion from 19% to 39% and 88% of those loans fund, I will have an extra $2 million to invest over 5 years, and I'll have an extra $5 million to invest over 10 years. Now, those investment dollars at a 5% or a 10% or a 15% or even higher returns is how you create passive revenue. And so the goal, no matter how old you are, no matter where you find yourself right now, the goal is to start thinking about how much of my income comes without me working, but someone else or something else working.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then what begins to happen is you create wealth. And I'm sitting with a 44-year-old at breakfast Friday morning. And I asked him, I said, what inspires you at this point? And he says, I'm worth about $21 million. I bought the right real estate. I bought and built the right team, and I'm 44 years old. And what inspires me is to keep going. Well, why wouldn't you keep going? Right? You don't have to work. He hasn't done a mortgage in over 2 years, but the team does the mortgages.
Wow.
44 years old. His whole goal every year is to buy 100 to 200 rental properties.
Jeez.
That's it. So wants to be at 1,000 rental doors by the end of 2025. And he'll buy 5 at a time, 4 at a time. He'll buy a complex with 12 units. One guy said, last year, I spent $6 million investing in 2 different companies that my buyers are going to use and that are going to help them in their life. And I'm going to make that passive revenue for the rest of my life. Have the plan to generate revenue. Improve the optics of the plan by getting better at one skill set. The velocity of trust with borrowers to have more of them say yes and mean it and stay. And then take every dollar, keep your lifestyle expense low. Don't make dumb decisions out of pride for your own income and blah, 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 blah. The millionaire next door doesn't look like a millionaire. Invest, 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 invest. And in 5 to 10 years, you can have extra $2 to $7 million in revenue that's secured assets, and you can have 75% of your revenue coming from not your primary job. And
That's
that's the
amazing.
key, man. If there's 20,
Yeah.
tie it all up. It's like, know the numbers, improve the number that generates the most revenue. Don't increase fixed expense with that revenue. Invest that revenue, invest the difference, keep your expenses low, and go. And you know what? You can be retired fully from start to finish in 60 months if you follow this plan.
So I want to, one, that was a great piece of micro content that I'm sure Eric and RC are over here thinking about chopping up. So that was awesome. But two, guys, don't check out. When you hear these big numbers, 21 million, 1,000 properties, a lot of people, Todd, just go, I can't be that ever. So I'm just going to kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I want to slow down and just go, okay, let's get your first strategy under your belt. And I want to ask you a question. I'll weigh into like if you could just go back and just start with your first strategy. You mentioned a bunch like investing into a business, real estate, and there was a handful of other ones. All of this wealth started with changing one behavior. That was like my best part of this conversation, the last 20 minutes, is just changing one behavior here, leading to massive wealth in the end. I love that, and I 100% believe in that. But if you're like, I can't get to 21 million without the first one, what I would tell you guys is this: if you're going to invest in your first strategy, it may be crypto, it may be real estate, it may be an insurance company, it may be another business. Todd mentioned a few others. My advice is to invest into something that you truly understand and that you believe in. And it might be real estate because that's kind of the business that we're in. But it also might be something that other people might think are crazy, like crypto. But if you truly understand it, you truly believe in it, I don't think you're ever going to feel regret or feel bad about that being your first one. And eventually, and we could spend a lot of time about the mindset of investing in passive income. Eventually, when you have 3 or 4 things that you're really comfortable with and they're producing passive income, you'll have another bucket, which is the fun bucket. My financial advisor and I talk about, where you go, I don't really understand this thing or this sector, but I have enough wealth to go play in it. And it may be even a high risk, high yield return bucket that you wouldn't do the first step, but after a few, you get to go play in it. So back to my point, my question, Todd, what would you say if like, hey, there are people who are like, yeah, I'm listening, I'm picking up what you're saying, Todd, but I want to get my first one under my belt. What would you say would be the best first action, first investment?
Well, I think that the most obvious thing that I would say is that if you don't have a team, you can't produce the economic growth that we're talking about producing here. At some level, the first investments that you have to make, either with the blessing of your company or because your company believes in you enough where you guys can have a shared expense or whatever that might be, the biggest choice for creating freedom is to expand the number of minutes you spend in your genius zone, in your superpower zone. And for every loan officer in the world, your superpower has to be relational. It has to be, I can sit down with you and you can sit down with me and we can have a conversation about mortgage planning and mortgage management. And I can teach you what to do and how to do it. And I can stay in touch with you every year and I can add value through annual mortgage reviews and things like that. If you're not in that genius zone, then that's the first place you start. Then if you start doing that, you're going to run out of personal time. And so one of the guys right now that last year, $275 million in fundings, has 5 people on his team that are part of the concierge team. I talked to one guy who closed $121 million last year, and I asked him how much he made. He said about $1.4 million. And I said, how many people have you done loans for? And he said about 5,000. And I said, so how many of those 5,000 are you in touch with regularly? And he goes, none of them. And I go, so you're making over $1 million a year and you're not in touch with clients that you've helped previously. And he goes, no, it's embarrassing. This guy's been in the business 20 years. So what I said to him, Ryan, and this is the thinking, no matter what level any of you are currently at, as you hear me say what I'm about to say, this change changes everything. So I said to him, based on our data, only about 7% of loan officers say that for every borrower that they help finance property, that borrower is able to produce one more referral or a repeat piece of business in the next year. That right there is acres of diamonds.
Oh,
that
for sure.
is
Yep.
fresh,
Yep.
fertile soil right there. So I said to this guy, I said, so there's 5,000. What would happen if the 4 people you're thinking about laying off right now because business is down, What if we took those 4 people, repurposed them, divided 1,000 of your 5,000 clients up into 4 tranches of 250 people? And what if those 4 people you're thinking about laying off now started loving on 250 people? And what if each one of them, listen, Ryan, gave you only 1 loan next year? I said, how many loans would that be? And he goes, 1,000. And I go, great, right? So is that passive revenue? Yeah.
No,
It's your
exactly.
labor that gets that revenue. No. Is it your team? Yes. And so then I said, so how much money will you make if 1,000 people who are loved on over 12 months from 4 people on your team you're thinking about laying off, how much would you make? And he goes, $6 million. And I go, $500,000 a month in revenue, of which 400,000 is passive because your team is generating the revenue. And then here's the answer. I'd keep it close to the vest. Let's invest in real estate. Let's get some of our best realtor partners to do fix and flips. Let's do that. Let's go in together and let's make, build another company or do this or do that. I got one guy right now that's raised $5 million in 12 months from his realtors for fix and flips. Talk about staying in real estate and buying and investing and
Yeah.
making money
Yeah.
that way. One of our top producers, Denise, she's got a roofing
Yep.
company. She's got an insurance company and she bought 50 lots. 50
Jeez.
lots. So if I'm a loan officer, what prevents me from going into real estate development? Nothing.
Right.
It's just to have the revenue. Is that going to be passive revenue? Yeah. Buy the land, get the right price, build it at the right price, sell it at the right price. That's passive revenue. It's
Love
just
it.
like, Ryan, it's just stay close to what we do. You and I help people buy real estate. That's what we do.
Yep.
So let's stay in doing that at scale. Have a team, buy insurance company, buy land, buy apartment complexes, buy doors, however you want to start, keep it there. Crypto, I don't understand crypto. I've spent a lot of money in crypto. I made a lot of money in crypto. I lost a lot of money in crypto. I like crypto, but I don't know crypto like, somebody who's 24 might know crypto.
And that's why I bring it up, because a lot of people in our business that had the run last couple of years invested into some of that and maybe won or lost. But I like what you're saying. Like, you're investing into companies that are kind of full circle and feed each other. And you don't have to work. You don't have to re-educate yourself in this sector. You guys know the business. You know how to buy a lot. You know how to do construction. You know how to sell at the right time. Right? These are amazing things that you already know how to do. When we go invest into something because somebody else that was smart said to, that might lead to some troublesome waters down the road. What Todd is saying is something that you guys already know. You guys don't have to get re-educated. You can start day one with this. I'll give you the final word. We're wrapping up at 20 minutes. I'll reaffirm one thing you said, Todd, and I was like, man, did we talk to the same person? Because we were talking about a strategy you just shared, but I don't think it was, because I was just in Mexico, $330 million producer, a little bit different strategy, but similar to yours, and I love it. I want to share it because I think both of these ideas are great. 330 million. He has a VIP strategy, top 25 clients, right? And this guy's crushing it. You would probably say top 0.01% in the industry, right? At 330 million.
Yeah, I know.
And he's like, God, dumb me. I've been doing this VIP strategy for myself. And like you're saying, he has a team. He goes, why would I not do this VIP strategy that is yielding amazing results with everybody on the team? So he's like, oh, I'm such a dummy. So now he went to all of his LOAs and LOs and go, look, you're going to have a VIP team. And we're going to I'm going to help you run this VIP team, which is designed to like invest your best into your best and get, referrals. And now he's compounded what was only 25 VIP, members on this team to 5 members doing the exact same thing times 25 VIP people. He's going to go do exactly what you said, which is connections and relationships. He's going to go spend massive time with all of his team members, VIP teams. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And he's like, yeah, I wish I just would have thought of that before. Dumb me. But it's like, here's a $330 million producer saying, dumb me. Like, obviously he wasn't, but similar but different strategy that you shared earlier, and you guys can go execute both of those. So Todd, I'll give you the final word, man, before we wrap up.
I think the final word is be really intelligent about leverage. And leverage is like, if I'm going to spend the time, energy, money, and interaction to win somebody over, spend that same amount of time or more keeping them forever. And that's the big decision right now that I think a lot of people need to make. And it's not a new idea, Ryan, but one and done in this business is the fast track to poverty. The goal would be to have more and more of the borrowers you serve find you more and more of the borrowers to serve. And the leverage point there is your agents are not finding those buyers and sellers. And if you do, then you have an economic universe that attracts them and locks them in. Stay close to the vest until you are converting 10 buyer conversations to 10 loan apps that 100% of them close. You have work to do. So one of the documents you can put a link in there, Ryan, is to our Talk Less, Sell More white paper. It's like how to take a half an hour conversation, shrink it to 10 minutes, and have conversion triple. That's what you have to do. And if we do that right now, if that's our only action item from this 25 minutes, then you have the revenue to start investing. If you don't have the revenue to invest, you're not going to even be thinking about this. And the goal is every single month, see if you can get more and more of your income from other people's labor and other business association. Beyond that, keep doing what you're doing and loving these buyers.
And don't forget, guys, it all starts way back here with just changing one behavior. And that's, again, I love that, Todd.
Yeah.
I always say this on the show. We'll wrap with this. What you focus on grows. And Todd just said it. If you wake up every day, if we can help you change one behavior, wake up every day thinking, how can I put my money to work for me today?
Yeah.
It'll change your behaviors. Your behaviors will follow that. Todd, this has been a fun conversation, man. Usually it's all relevant. It's like all market driven. I love that we set that aside today.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear back maybe in a couple of years that we changed the people's lives and help them build genuine wealth. So I appreciate you, brother.
Final thought I'm going to say, it's never too late to start, and forgive yourself for not doing it sooner because you still have the future. Don't go to the future and look back another 5 years from now going, I wish I had listened to that back then. Do something with it. And to your point, Ryan, what you focus on follows. Love it. Good hanging with you, buddy.
Appreciate you. See you soon, guys.